Good morning. Today is a big day, especially for the people of Ol-Kalou in Nyandarua County. Why? Because today they decide on who will be their Member of Parliament. These as over 74,000 registered members, registered voters will be going to the polls. Many of them are queuing ready to cast their vote to make that decision that will determine the leader that will be talking about their issues in the National Assembly. Today, we'll be looking at how the journey has been, and I want to christen it Triple G. Why Triple G? Because it has been a journey that has been laced with goodies, guns, and goons. Why? Because that is exactly what we have seen as many went to campaign in the Ol-Kalou by-election campaigns. And even as we have the front runner today, as has been seen in the Kenya's bold newspaper, the Standard, Rigathi versus Ruto. And I'll just take you through the headline as we look at it today. And more than 1,000 police officers have descended on Ol-Kalou as voters head to the ballot after weeks of violence, alleged voter buying, claims of state interference, and accusations of bias against IEBC. While the Electoral Commission insists the unprecedented security deployment is meant to safeguard the integrity of the vote, the opposition sees the intimidation and selective enforcement of the law. Now, the mini poll has become more than a contest for a parliamentary seat. It is a test of the country's democratic practices, of the IEBC's credibility, and how 2027 general election may shape up. That is President William Ruto against former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, including the two frontrunners, who is Samuel Mushina Nyaga of UDA and Sammy Douglas Kamau of DCP, who takes the day today together with 8 other contestants in that election. We have our crew on ground, Alan Ochanda and Ken Gashuhi, making sure that we get bit by bit, blow by blow, wall-to-wall coverage of the over 144 polling stations in Ol-Kalou constituency. Many woke up early in the morning. We had a conversation with them, and there is a lady who told President William Ruto, and I will quote her. She says, President William Ruto, sisi ni watu wa amani, watu wasikuje kutupiga. It is what many continue to say in Ol-Kalou. I want us to touch base with Alan Ochanda, who is in Ol-Kalou, to bring us up to speed on how the situation is with what we are seeing being high voter turnout as compared to other by-elections that have taken place. Good morning, Alan Ochanda. How are you this morning? We see many have turned out to select their leader. Bring us up to speed on the latest.
Well, Dennis, unlike other by-elections, this turnout can only be characterized as overwhelming. You can see on our screen the several lines, the multiple lines. We can literally count from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And all of them long queues. You can see my colleague Edwin Gitonga panning on your screens. The lines are actually here. They have actually arrived here as early as 6 a.m. Yes, the process is gradual. And of course, it can only be gradual because of the verification exercise inside, because they are using the KEMS kits. And so the details must be identified so that only the registered, verified, qualified voter can only be allowed to partake in this particular exercise. You can see that was actually on my left, and now on my right, the queues are still there. They are patient. They are ensuring that they participate and partake in this civic duty of just ensuring that they elect their leader of choice. This particular contest has attracted 9 candidates, all of them sponsored by registered political parties. There is no independent candidate in this particular contest. All of them sponsored by political parties. But of course, in every race, there normally is there normally are the front runners. You've seen the UDA candidate Samuel Mushina and the DCP candidate Sam Ngodho Kariuki, they were actually going head to head. They are actually perceived the front runners, and their competition really eliciting mixed reactions. Remember, they were actually classmates since primary. Of course, we were talking to them before this particular day. But Dennis, we can authoritatively report that from all the five polling stations that we've visited, there's nothing to cause attention here. It's still calm. It's calm since morning, despite the heavy deployment of security officers, where the opposition had expressed their fears that the heavy deployment was a sinister motive and that it will cause voter suppression by destabilizing peace. So far, so good. There's nothing to cause attention in Ol-Kalou. So the voting is still ongoing. It began 3 hours ago at exactly 6 a.m. No candidates has already voted, but we are expecting that in a couple of minutes to come, from around 9:30, 10 a.m., the candidates will be making their ways into the various polling stations where they have been duly registered as voters and then partake in that particular exercise. We've only seen the deputy party leader of the DCP party, Cleophas Malala, crisscrossing and visiting some of the polling stations here. We talked to him, and so far so good, nothing to cause tension. Only the gradual verification exercise capturing just to ensure that everybody who is being allowed in the voting booth is duly registered. But let me just talk to some of the voters here. Some of them are looking the other side. Mzee, tuko live KTN, unajua sawa wanaogopa kidogo. Utueleze tu jina lako, umefika saa ngapi? Oh, sawa, tunaheshimu hilo. Mama, pengine jina lako, umefika saa ngapi na unataraji nini? Songa tu karibu tafadhali. Well, they are fearful on camera. Mama, tutazungumza na wewe. Most of them are fearful, but mzee usiogope. Tuzungumze tafadhali. Jina lako, umefika hapa saa ngapi, tutaraji nini?
Sawa. Nimefika hapa saa 1. Nimefika hapa saa 1. Na
utasema majina yako tafadhali kwa sauti?
Mimi ni Joseph Kimani. Na niko kwa raini ya J. Na tumekuja kuvote. Ndio tuamuanishe hii kitu. Ndio ituondokee kwanza.
Iwaondokee, mlikuwa mmechoka?
Tulikuwa tumechoka bwana.
Nini imewachosha?
Tumechoshwa na hii mambo ya sauti huku, mara shida ya election inakuwa mbaya. By the way, tunataka turudi kwa kazi ya kawaida.
Wito wako kwa wapiga kura wenzako pengine hapa Ol-Kalou?
Wafuatu kwa amani na tuendelee vizuri. Sina linga.
Asante sana mzee. Utueleze jina lako, alafu tueleze umetokea wapi, umefika hapa saa ngapi, unataraji nini katika siku ya leo?
Mimi naitwa John Kimani.
Kwa sauti kidogo.
Mimi naitwa John Kimani. Mkaaji wa huku Ol-Kalou town. Nimetoka tu hapa kwa police station karibu. Hapa tuko sawa. Watu wako calm na tunatarajia kuwe tu peaceful.
Sawa. Tupate pia mama hapa. Mama, tueleze jina lako tu, alafu tueleze umetokea wapi, umefika saa ngapi. Songea tu hapa. Songea alafu unataraji nini? Ni KTN live.
Naitwa Kezia.
Songea tu tafadhali. Jina kwa sauti?
Naitwa Kezia. Mimi ni mkaanji wa huku. Nilifika hapa saa 1 na laini zimeenda sawa. Hatujashoka mpaka mwisho tufanye vile tumekuja kufanya.
Na pengine tumeona kumekuwa na usalama, na nyinyi kama wakazi mnataraji nini hapa Ol-Kalou, ama wito wako kwa wapiga kura wenzako?
Tunaomba kuwe na peace na mambo yote yaishie kukiwa na peace. Sawa.
Tuzungumze pia na Shosho hapa. Naona umeshapiga kura Shosho. Simama tu hapa, KTN ndio hii. Tuzungumze tu kwenye KTN Shosho. Tuzungumze kwenye KTN. Sawa. Songe hapa. Tunakuona na kola, pengine ni mhubiri, utaeleza jina lako, unahubiria kanisa gani na tutaraji nini leo?
Asante sana. Jina langu ni Reverend William Karioki kutoka kanisa la Kiaglikana, ACK St. Peter's Ol-Kalou. Na mimi ni mpiga kula hapa AC Comprehensive School. Na nimekuja kupiga kula. Asante.
Kiongozi wa kidini, unajua nyinyi kwa sana mnahubiri kuhusu amani. Wewe kama kiongozi wa kidini na pia mama kutoka hapa na mpiga kura kutoka hapa, wito wako kwa wakazi wa Ol-Kalou na pengine matamani yako ni yapi?
Matamani yangu ni kwamba tupige kula tukiwa tumetulia na tuwe katika wakati wa kuwa na amani, na mtu akimaliza kupiga kula tuelekee nyumbani, tuachie Mungu afanye kazi yake.
Sawa. Asante. Pia tupate ambaye ashapiga kura, pengine utatueleza jina lako na utueleze umetokea wapi, umefika hapa saa ngapi, zoezi limekuaje kule ndani. Naona umeshashika kitambulisho chako cha kitaifa, pengine uonyeshane TV bila kuonyesha picha. Naona kidole ushapata paka wino. Utueleze imekuwa namna gani? Utaangalia tu.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa John Kung Kangonga. Kwetu nimetoka upande ya Kigajo. Nimekuja hapa kitu saa 1 ikielekea. Kura ni mzuri na hakuna shida. Na nimechaguana.
Bila kusema uliyemchagua uko ndani, usiseme uliyemchagua kwa sababu ni siri yako. Utueleze tu uko ndani. Hiyo process iko namna gani? Iko haraka, iko polepole ama namna gani? Details zako ziliweza kupatikana kwa urahisi?
Details zangu zimekaa sana, si kupatikana kwa haraka, lakini nimechaguana. Lakini inaendelea vizuri.
Tuonyeshe kidole cha wino tu. Kidole cha wino tu. Umeshapiga sasa?
Nimeshapiga. Sasa mimi nangojea yahesabiwe.
Sawa sawa.
Asanteni.
Haya, asante sana. Well, Dennis, the residents here, voters who are still queuing, and one of them who has already participated in the exercise, saying it's a gradual exercise, but all in all, he has been able to partake in that particular civic duty of electing his preferred candidate for this position of Ol-Kalou Member of Parliament, replacing Njuguna Kiaraho, who passed on in March this year. And of course, the other ones whose clarion call across is that their fellow voters will just ensure that they maintain peace and tranquility during these voting exercise. But from the various voting stations that we visited, we can authoritatively report that there is peace, tranquility, there is calm. So the exercise, we expect that it will be moving at that pace, and of course it will be called by 5 or 6, it should be called, and then the counting process can begin, so that by night the residents and the voters of Ol-Kalou can now know their leader. We shall represent them up until August next year, when they shall be heading back to the ballot to again decide who leads them for the next 5 years. Remember, this by-election was occasioned by the passing on of their MP, Njuguna Kiaraho. And so, Dennis, we shall still be visiting the other polling stations. Remember, they are 144. It's quite a vast constituency. And also on the heavy security deployment, we've seen those coming in to Ol-Kalou. There is actually a police roadblock at Captain area, an area called Captain, where there's a police roadblock, and of course the other entry points into the constituency, to just ensure that they rigorously subject all motorists to checks, so that nothing is left to chance. Because remember that in the past by-elections, Kasipul, Malava, Mbere North, we've seen sort of different magnitudes of various magnitudes of violence, and so we are expecting that that will not be witnessed here in Ol-Kalou. But Dennis, as I promised, we shall be still visiting the various polling stations to just bring our viewers to speed with the developments here up until when IEBC calls this election and declares the winner. Dennis.
Thank you, Ochanda, as he continues to bring us up to speed on what is happening in Ol-Kalou. There a little earlier, we saw security agencies there addressing members of the press, stating that all vehicles that are operating within Ol-Kalou are being scrutinized, warning that no vehicle will be allowed on the roads there without number plates. Further saying that the police are there to ensure that security of both the voters of the election process is actually guaranteed. We shall be heading there a little bit later to also touch base with Ken Gashuhi, who is as well in Ol-Kalou, in other areas, just making sure that they bring us up to speed on what is happening in Ol-Kalou. In the meantime, we shall also be having this discussion with my guest in studio, and Dr. Solomon Njenga is